in a country whose language you don't speak. Your life depends on someone somewhere in a command center you will never see. Someone is sitting in front of a screen right now, watching, in an infrastructure that has been running without interruption since decades ago. The question isn't whether World War III could happen. The question, the one that actually keeps defense analysts awake. 1983. Petrov's moment. You already know. 1995. A Norwegian weather rocket is launched for a scientific study. Russian radar systems identify it as a potential nuclear missile. President Boris Yeltsin is handed the nuclear briefcase. For the first time in Russian history, he has 12 minutes to decide whether to launch a retaliatory strike. He waits. The rocket lands in the ocean. The scientists publish their weather data. Nobody outside of a classified briefing room knows this happened for years. So now the real question, not whether it could happen. We've established it nearly has, repeatedly. The real question is the one you clicked on. What would actually occur, and would you be alive a week later? Let me walk you through it, not the Hollywood version, the documented version, based on what actually happened to actual people in actual conflicts, because the data exists, it's just nobody presents it this way. Hour 0. You don't hear an explosion, you don't see a flash, you lose power. That's how it starts for most people. In a modern conflict between major powers, the opening move is not military. It is infrastructural, power grids, water systems, communication networks. All of it hits simultaneously through cyber attack before a single conventional weapon leaves the ground. Ukraine 2015 power grid taken offline remotely. 200,000 people with no electricity in the middle of winter. Done in minutes. Estonia 2007, the entire country's digital infrastructure attacked simultaneously. Banks, government, media, emergency services, all dark. Those were not acts of war. Those were demonstrations, proof of concept. The message was, we can do this. The power is still out. Your phone has signal, but the networks are overwhelmed. Every person in your city is doing the same thing, trying to call someone, trying to find out what's happening. Emergency broadcasts are either offline or contradicting each other. And here is the moment that determines almost everything that follows. What you do in the next 60 minutes. When the towers fell, people went back to their desks. Waited. The mind looks for normal before it accepts catastrophic every time, including yours. The physics of survival in a nuclear event have not changed since 1945. The information is not classified. It is not complicated. It is almost never communicated. Distance and mass. Those are the two variables. Everything else is secondary. If you are outside the immediate blast radius, and the majority of the population of any given country would be, your survival comes down to how much mass you can put between yourself and the outside air within the first 30 minutes. A basement cuts radiation exposure by a factor of 10. You need depth, density, going down, 48 hours. The most lethal particles, the ones that kill in days rather than years, decay within 48 hours. After that window, the risk profile changes completely. But let's say you do move. Let's say you go down. You wait. You survive the immediate event. Now, you come up. And this is where every survival guide stops, because what comes up is a question that logistics cannot answer. The survivors of Hiroshima were studied for the rest of their lives, physically, psychologically. What the researchers kept finding, regardless of which angle they approached from, was not what they expected to find. The primary long-term damage was not radiation. It was the loss of what psychologists now call ontological security. The deep unconscious belief that the world is stable, that tomorrow will resemble today, that the structures around you, buildings, systems, people, are permanent. When that belief is destroyed in a single morning, the human mind doesn't recover the way a broken bone recovers. It reorganizes around the new information, around the knowledge that permanence was always an illusion. There is a version of this question with a clean answer: a limited regional conflict. Conventional weapons contain geography. The rest of the world watches, suffers economically, absorbs refugees. Life continues, altered but continuous. That version is survivable. That version has already happened multiple times in the last 30 years, and the world continued. A full nuclear exchange between two major powers produces what climatologists call nuclear winter. The fires from burning cities inject enough particulate matter into the upper atmosphere to reduce sunlight reaching the Earth's surface by up to 70% for up to a decade. Agriculture fails globally. Every country on Earth that depends on consistent sunlight for food production, which is every country on Earth, faces simultaneous crop failure. Billion casualties from the exchange itself, 3 to 5 billion from what follows. Humans have survived collapse before, not nuclear winter, but the kind of civilizational collapse that restructured everything. The Black Death killed half of Europe. The World Wars killed 80 million people. The Bronze Age collapse erased virtually every major civilization on Earth simultaneously. In every case, in every single case, people survived. And the research on how they survived keeps returning to the same finding. Not weapons or supplies or distance from the epicenter. The communities that survived catastrophic collapse shared one characteristic above all others. They knew each other. Social trust. A significant portion of people outside primary target zones could survive the immediate event. Mentally, that's something else. The people who have lived through it all say the same thing. You don't get to know who you are in war conditions until you're in them. A limited conflict leaves the world damaged but continuous. A full exchange leaves a question that no living human has ever had to answer. But here is what I keep coming back to. In 1983, the answer to all of these questions, for everyone alive today, came down to one man, with 12 minutes and no way to verify what he was seeing. He was a man who looked at the data and felt in his gut that something was wrong. He had no proof. He had protocol telling him to do the opposite of what he did. He had 12 minutes, and the weight of the world arranged entirely without his consent on his shoulders. He chose to wait. The next time that moment comes, and the documented history suggests it will come, we have to hope that whoever is sitting in that chair has the same stillness in them that Stanislav Petrov had. Because in the end, the answer is, you already survived World War III.